Hi everyone, my name is Nina Melendez. I am the Virtual Content Specialist for Multilingual Learners and English Language Learners for Mathematics grades 9 through 12. Today we are looking at Algebra 1 lesson, day 3 of our Unit 2 of quadratic equations. Our aim for today is when do we write quadratic equations? So as a focus, we are going to focus on our introduction launch portion of this lesson, and our keywords and ideas within this lesson are going to be the words notice and wonder, equation, and function. So we are going to start off by looking at our key vocabulary words. So as a review from the previous unit, we learned about our different forms of quadratics, which we have right here on the left-hand side. So our different forms of quadratic equations, you find that we have vertex form, factored form, and standard form. Okay, and then moving forward, we are going to learn how to use these types of equations within context of real-world problems. So looking at the example, let's look at this example of equation and function. So we are given an equation. We're given the equation b equals 2a squared minus 4a plus 6. 2a squared minus 4a plus 6. Now, you might be thinking, but where's the x and the y? Remember, x and y are variables, which are letters that take the place of an unknown. So we might have x and y, but we might have other letters. So here I want you to take note that your a is what represents your x-axis, and your b represents your y-axis, okay? And when I graph it, it graphs the same as if I would have used x and y, okay? I have that it opens up. I have that my graph opens up. It has a minimum point, which is the 0.14. It has no real solutions because it doesn't cross the x-axis, therefore it has no real solutions. And the y-intercept is at 0, 6. Now, this is going to be very important for today's lesson for understanding how to interpret our word problems and how to delve into our launch. Now, keywords for this lesson that you might use in this lesson and you might use in other contexts are the words notice and wonder. What does it mean to notice and wonder? So according to Merriam-Webster Dictionary online, you could just do a quick Google. It says, to notice is to comment upon, to comment on something, review something, to treat it with attention, to look at it closely, and to become aware of it. Okay, so what do you notice? What things do you see? To wonder is to feel curiosity or to be doubtful. If you're not sure of something and you're thinking, but why is that? That is you doubting in a good way because you are wondering what else do you need to know about this topic. So keep those two words in mind for today's lesson. Those are going to be key vocab words for this lesson. So let's move forward. Okay, so we are going to focus today on our introduction launch. Our introduction launch says, a group is asked to memorize a list of 20 words, then recall as many possible later. So this group of people is going to be asked to learn by memory 20 words and then to be able to remember these words later. That's what it means to recall. An equation that represents the position of the word on the list. So there is a list of words with 20 words on them. So there's the first word, second word, third word, all the way to number 20. N, and the number of people in the group who remembered the word P is modeled by the function P equals 0.34n squared minus 8.7n plus 97.3. And all we're being asked to do is to notice and wonder. All we're being asked to do is to notice and wonder. So I can say, so let me see what are things that I notice. One thing that I like to do when you're noticing and wondering about things is to annotate them. As you see here, I've already marked the word equation, and this is the function that represents this equation. Therefore, what can I say about this function? What can I say about this function? So, looking at our key vocab and looking at what we saw with our keywords, I can say, well, it's telling me that n is the number, the position of the word on the list. N is the position on the word on the list. So I wrote that down right here because this is something that I'm noticing. So I'm noticing first. I'm making my notices first. N is the position of the word on that list. Now, P is the number of people in the group who remember the word. So number of people who remember that word. So I wrote this down. I also labeled my Y and my X axis to remember that this is Y and this is X. This is Y and this is X. So what are things that I can look at? So I want to look at this graph, and I'm going to move the video up. So I want to look at this graph carefully when I'm noticing and wondering. So I see that this is the position of words on the list. So this is the first, second, third, fourth, sixth, eighth, 10th. So I can see that the first word, almost everyone seemed to remember it. 90 people remembered it. But as we go down the list, less people remember the word. As we go down the list, less people remember the words. It becomes less and less. But something happens towards the end of that list that it dips down to and then it starts going back up. So it seems like people started remembering the end of that list, but not as many people as did in the start. So what can we say about this? So what is a noticing and what is a wondering? So these are your sentence starters. I notice that. I wonder if. So looking here, I say, I notice that less people remember the words at the middle end of the list, right? Because if the list has 20 words, I can see that around word 12, the middle is 10. But around word 12, people weren't remembering, not a lot of people were remembering those words. Right? So at the middle end of the list, I noticed that less people remembered the words, right? And what did I wonder? What can I wonder about? So I'm wondering if this was a smaller list, if this would have been a smaller list, would the number of people that would have remembered the words at the start and at the end have been greater? This list would have just been smaller. Would the people that have remembered this be greater at the start and at the end? So these are wonderings that I have. So as you go through today's lesson, make sure you're labeling everything. Make sure you're identifying what your X and Y and your variables represent. And remember to notice and to wonder throughout this lesson and to write down any observations you make. I'll see you in the next video and have a lovely day.